Welcome to NMDP Black Blood Hills. NMDP operates the National Registry of Blood Stem Cell Donors. Tune in as I share tools and resources on ways you can be a change agent and save a life in your community. Welcome to Black Blood Hills. I'm your host, Tamara Weston, and I am super excited for today's episode as I get to talk with one of my NMDP coworkers, Altonette Fillmore, as we talk about her past as being a bone marrow donor and currently as a donor collection experience specialist. Yay! I didn't think I was going to get through that, but I did. Yes! And we are going to talk about all things NMDP, and we're going to talk about how Altonette is amazing and not only what she's done, what she does, but what she has done in the past by helping someone save their life. Welcome, Altonette. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm all about opportunities to raise awareness, so this is great.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it because it's all things through you. Ladies and gentlemen, I just met this woman the day before. Even though we work at NMDP together, we work in different areas, and I had the pleasure of meeting her for the first time yesterday. And when I tell you her energy, the oomph that she gives off, it just makes you feel like you can be Superman. And her faith and her beauty, and she can sing.
You're far too kind.
But she won't do it today, but she can sing. So I'm excited to talk with her about all things NMDP, about her history, her journey as a bone marrow donor. And so we can just sort of understand who she is. I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit about her history.
Yes, I'm Altonette Fillmore. I reside in Houston, Texas, and I work at Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center in their Cellular Life Solutions Department, where we collect PBSC, which stands for Peripheral Blood Stem Cell Donors. I actually donated bone marrow, and it cured my recipient of leukemia. So,
hold on, you just skipping by too fast. When did you donate?
I donated in 2013.
Okay. All right. So that would be 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Long time ago.
What was that experience like?
Oh, man. Life-changing. It was life-changing.
Okay.
I joined the registry at Prairie View A&M University my freshman year, and I'm not giving y'all my age, okay? I'm not going to tell too much, but let's just say back then it was a blood donation to join the registry.
Okay.
And
that was before both of our times.
Yeah,
so I get it.
Yeah. And then I got the call in 2013 that I was a match, and I moved forward in the process of donating, and it's been life-changing. It really has, to know that there is something within you that can possibly change another person's life.
For the better.
For the better. It's beautiful because we're complete strangers.
Exactly.
So I think that we haven't even began to tap into the possibilities, but that's a start.
So I know you said you don't want to tell us your age, but can you tell us how long you were on the registry before you were called?
I was on the registry approximately 14 years before I was identified as a match.
Wow, that's amazing. We've had previous guests that talk about being on the registry for 26 years before they were called. And then we've had someone on the registry that was called for under a year. Like they were not immediately, but it was under a year before they were called. So it's interesting that as we go out and we talk to people, or we sort of provide information, we want to make sure that it's understood that you may not be called right away, you may be called right away, or you may never be called. It just depends on if you are found to be a match.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, so when you received the call, what ran through your mind?
I was excited because it had been so long. I had a whole new life,
Life happens.
in the span of that amount of time. And so when I got the call, I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. I'm actually a match for someone. And then I started to think about that person, about the recipient, what she was going through, and what it would feel like for her to know that there's someone who's willing to move forward in the process. So for me, I thought more about her than I did myself, because she is the same age as my mom. So that tugged on all kinds of heartstrings, because I would have wanted someone to do that for my mom. I would have wanted someone to do that for my mom. And so to know that I could do that
for someone else's mom.
I
know.
It meant more to me than I could ever put into words. And it wasn't this grand gesture. And I think that that's the case with a lot of donors, because I get to work with donors on a daily basis. They don't think very much of it. It's like, this is just what we do.
What we're supposed to do.
This is what we're supposed to do.
All right, we're going to tap into that in a second. Let me take you back for a second. What type of donation did you do?
I donated bone marrow.
Okay.
Yes, I donated bone marrow, which is done under general anesthesia. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything what I thought it would be. It was an incredible experience in the way that I thought, due to just the myths that were out there, my experience was better than what I'd heard. Okay. Again, it was done under general anesthesia. The procedure took less than an hour at the insertion spots. They put 2 pressure gauzes there. It's a tolerable pain. They gave me pain pills. I did not need them. It sort of kind of felt like I hit my tailbone. If I need to give you a description, that is what it felt like. I had the procedure on a Tuesday. I was back at work on Thursday. And at that time, I worked in a level 1 trauma hospital in Houston in the human resource department. So I still had to move about, between wings and departments. And I moved around just a little bit slower. So needless to say, the experience was great, and I'm still on the registry today, and I work for NMDP. So if that tells you anything.
Well, I love the fact that you've shared your experience with us, and what the after effects were for you. Pain is measurable, right? It's depending on who is in that moment. So when we talk about the effects of bone marrow donation, it is individual.
It is.
But with that being said, the general anesthesia, you did not feel anything through the procedure, correct?
That is correct. I was asleep for the procedure. And when I came to, of course, you're always groggy, right? But I had my husband right there by my side. He took care of me for the duration of the day. Great support. Anytime you're donating, to have a support system really does help the process. It helps calm and ease the mind while you're going through it. So yeah.
Now let's fast track.
Okay.
So you are currently an employee at NMDP as a donor and collection experience specialist. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell us about that. How did you start that role?
Oh my gosh. So I have actually been with NMDP for about 10 years now.
Okay, so that would be 5 years after your donation. Okay.
Yes, after I donated. I became an ambassador. I was volunteering at every opportunity that presented itself to raise awareness and get more people on the registry. And at the time, the director took note, and she said, we've got a recruiting position if you'd be interested in it. And sure enough, I said, give me 2 weeks. I'll be right back. And I submitted my resignation from working in human resources. Wow. And never looked back. And so that is where my journey began, was in recruitment. Getting people on the registry, and being an African American and being a person who actually went through the process of it made a difference. It made a difference because now there's a face. We're not just hearing about it. We're not just watching it on YouTube, finding, footage. No, now there's an actual person that I can talk to and ask the questions thereof. So I started in recruitment, and I've held several positions, all of which I feel encompass the role that I'm presently in, working with donors that come to Cellular Life Solutions in Houston to collect. We are responsible for making sure that they're fed, their companions are well taken care of. We also work very closely with the doctors and the nurses to ensure flawless collection. We work on all the paperwork, clearances, things of that sort. So we are the buffers between NMDP and Cellular Life Solutions. And so it's a great job. I love it because, again, I get to share my story every single day. Every day donors come in. I'm like, yes, well, I'm a donor too. And it helps them to understand that they are in the company
of others who have gone through.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that's a present role.
It's interesting that you brought up African Americans earlier, because we know that we as a culture do not trust a lot of medical entities. When you think back to the Tuskegee experiment, when you think back as recently as COVID, you know, I always tell the story of Serena Williams, who literally was in the hospital begging someone to take a look at her after the birth of her daughter. So, you know, we're kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. You know, how do you think that we can get out the message to a broader spectrum? Like, we definitely know that we need more ethnically diverse donors on the registry. And it's not that they don't join because they don't know. It's just because they don't know us.
Right.
So how do we get into the forefront? How do we become the cousin that's invited to the picnic and without bringing a potato salad?
Right. That gets to come to the barbecue. Right.
How do we do that? Yeah. So how do what, in your opinion, as you're in the day-to-day,
Right.
how do you think we could do that better?
Education. Education is a big part of it because we have these conversations behind closed doors, because there is that awareness that is there, then another direction needs to be taken to get a different result.
We're very private.
Yes.
We don't talk about what's happening.
Right.
If you're not in the family, you don't need to know.
That's right. Yeah. So, but we know that these discussions are being had because we're apprehensive about joining us. So the action speaks volumes, but education is going to be the root of it. It's just like, and I say root, meaning it's much deeper. It's much deeper than just surface level. Yeah. It's kind of like if you have a tooth that needs to be removed. If you leave any part of that root, then an infection sets in, right? And so getting to the root and the heart of it is what ultimately makes the change, is what ultimately gets different results. I cannot tell you how many times I had to go to different websites and pull up these consent forms and look at IRBs, which stands for Institutional Review Boards. All of their information I had to disseminate to people who wanted to join the registry because they are aware. I had a husband that tell me, I don't want my wife to donate because I don't want another Henrietta Lacks situation. Okay.
You know, when we think about it goes way back too, right? But I feel like even though we talk about the Tuskegee experiment, even though we talk about Henrietta Lacks, even though we talk about the most recent things, the fact that it just continues to happen is where that trust is not built. Because what is it? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool you twice. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I feel like that's where we're in as a culture. That's the tug that we have. I don't think it's not that we don't want to trust medicine. I think it's like we feel like we can't.
Right. And so the education is one piece of it. Putting a face out there like myself.
Yep.
To say I did it.
Yeah.
I was okay. The process went smoothly, and you're going to be okay.
Right.
That starts to build a rapport.
Right.
And then the conversation shifts. Then the conversation changes. Like, oh, I know someone who actually did this. You know, and we can call her right now. Let me call her. And I've had that happen many a times. I volunteer my phone number so that they can call me with any questions that they have.
Well, I'll add to that when we used to go out into the field, and field meaning the communities, and try to talk to people and educate them on who at the time Be the Match, now NMDP, is and was. It was always, I didn't know there was a cure.
Yep.
oh, I didn't know you existed. And you're like, but then they would stop and they would want to learn more.
Yes.
We had a number of people that were hesitant to join the registry and said, well, let me go and think about it. And you're like, yeah, they're not coming back. But sure enough, they pull out the phone, they Google, they read, they go to the website. They might have to go back to work, but then they did come back.
Yes.
And say, you know what? Let me sign up.
Yeah.
So it is, giving them the opportunity to introduce ourselves, and then giving them the opportunity to go and learn about us, and then giving them the opportunity at their leisure to come back and join or either support us in whatever way they can.
Yeah, it's like allow me to reintroduce myself.
Right.
You know?
Go ahead, JC. Yes. Yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, in your day-to-day, you deal with it every day. If you had one thing to say to the audience, if you had one thing to share with them about what brings you joy of what you do, what would that be?
The possibility of saving a life is what wakes me up every morning with a smile on my face. I'm an early bird, so I usually arrive to work about 6:30, 6:20, 6:30. And
Ooh.
you'd swear I had a pot of coffee because that's my energy level early in the morning, because I'm like, yes, okay, time to save life. I get excited about that. I get excited when I start to think about the recipient on the other side of this coin and how anxiously they're waiting to receive this product. I think about their families and how they're sending up prayers for the donors who I'm engaging with right now. Prayers are being sent for their collection. And yeah, it just, that for me is the highlight of my day. The possibility extends far beyond an arm's reach. Possibilities are global.
Right.
And so to know that this product could be traveling overseas or, another destination beyond where we are presently, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It keeps me excited, keeps me smiling, keeps me happy. I love working for NMDP. NMDP has completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Well, Mark Twain has a saying, there are two dates important in your life: the day you were born and the day you figure out why.
That's right. And I know my why. Do you?
I like it. On that note, we're going to end it. Yes. Altonette Fillmore, it has been a pleasure sitting here chit-chatting with you. I feel like we could have went on and on and on, but sadly, we have to bring it to a close, and you ended it on a beautiful note. Altonette said it perfectly. Do you know your why? And if you want to know more information about NMDP and how you might be able to support us, or just want to know a little bit more, head over to www.nmdp.org. I don't know what to say. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking to you. I thank you again for being here today with me. And I guess I'll see you at the water cooler.
That's right. That's right. Or by the cake.
Or by the cake, yes. With that being said, it will take all of us to save one of us. Till next time.